What's going on, everybody? It's me, Mark. Welcome to DragonCon 2025, and I am honored to be sitting next to the great, the legend, Peter Macon. How are you doing today?
The great, the legend. Ooh, that's okay. No, I'm good. I'm great. It's so good to be here again. I think it's been 2-3 years, but this is like, DragonCon is a jam. You know what I mean? So, and I have some friends here with me that have never been. Do you know what I mean? So, trying to explain it to somebody is virtually impossible.
No, this is definitely something you have to experience because it's unlike any other con in the country or the world.
Yeah, no, in the world, because I've been to a bunch around the world, and there's nothing like this, and especially when the sun goes down.
Right.
Look out.
Right, but I don't want to take up too much of your time, so let's just go ahead and get into the interview.
Let's get it.
First question, tell me your nerdy origin story.
Oh man, I believe, so I was born and raised in Chicago, and my mother had 2 waitressing jobs downtown, so she would have to wake up at 4 a.m., and so I would get up at 4:30 a.m. and watch Space 1999, and I don't know, I mean, if you remember the show, you know the show, but it was a show where there was like a lot of transformation, like people, like a lot, there was this really weird special effects to, I think I was 7 years old at the time when I first started watching it. And it was just like seeing people transform into aliens or just like the spaceships and stuff like that. So, and I used to build models and all kinds of stuff. So like, I think, but Space 1999 was like my foray into special effects. And then my dad was a huge Trekkie too. So that was kind of always on the TV in the background. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you have earned a master's and then you went to School of Drama and Acting. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I went to the Yale School of Drama. First of all, I started working as an actor when I was 17 years old, when I graduated high school, and then I got my equity card when I was 17 and just went out on tour. And I left when I left, I was 17 and I was a vegetarian virgin, and came back not that from tour. But I learned a lot just being out on the road. And so then I did that for like 13 years, being a working actor in the regional theater pretty much. And then, I had this epiphany that I felt like I wasn't growing anymore, so I decided to apply for grad school, and I applied and went to grad school at the Yale School of Drama, and it was a 3-year program for a master's degree, and I took 2 years of clown study, like working, learning the ins and outs of clown performing and building, a clown from the ground up, got a clown name. So that was one of the most important classes that I took there. A lot of Shakespeare, and then lots of contemporary and classical study of plays. And we did some on-camera stuff. So it was like training and it was great because I didn't have to worry about finding a job, because most actors, you find one job, and as soon as you get that job, you got to find another job, because it's it's just a lot of ups and downs. But like for 3 years, I could just study, and that was probably the most beneficial time that I've had. At one point, I think I was doing like 5 different plays, so I have 5 different scripts in my head, and so you just really get to. It's like the Marine Corps of drama school, like where you just 16-hour days, 6 days a week for 3 years with some breaks in between. But so that sort of prepared me for a lot of the work that I do now and am able to do. I still draw on that training, so it was just great to just as an actor to just train. You know what I mean? So that was great 3 years of my life. Still very much in debt though.
But that's interesting, because I've heard other actors say that it's the clowning that stuck to them more than the Shakespearean parts of their training. And I just want to know, like, from your experience, why is that the case for you?
Because it strips you of every amount of ego that you would potentially bring to any role. Like so when you are studying and working on clown, we are sort of accessing our 4 and 5-year-old brains, before you're told no. They're pre-sexual, they're very innocent, and I just look at my own kids where it's like, like 1 minute, this is the greatest moment of my life.
Right.
2, this is the most terrible thing, and it's really funny to watch, emotions vacillate that quickly. And it's just, you learn, I learned really how to exist in a vulnerable space. Do you know what I mean? And like the things that come from existing in that vulnerable space, even if you're playing, a villain, like or horrible antagonist, like there's a vulnerable space that every person, frankly, lives in. And so working on a clown sort of helps you access this space of neutrality that is, and it was difficult because it's humiliating,
right.
Like because you try to be funny, it's not funny, but when funny things happen, it's funny. So, like it just strips you down of every bit of armor that you have, and I think that is what's almost quintessential and just what's necessary for building character is just vulnerability and like that space of like, leaving your ego out of the equation.
Gotcha. That's really deep. That's really deep. So you were in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, sir.
Year, and your character was, not being biased, but probably the best part of that.
You could
whole
say that.
movie.
It's okay. You could say that.
But I'm just curious, like, how is it acting through prosthetics and makeup and like having your face covered and still give such a memorable performance?
Well, I will tell you, with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it was performance capture, so it wasn't prosthetics at all. It was the opposite. No, and I'll say that. With that, like, because I have a theater background, we would be in like these high-tech suits with basically like QR code kind of things all over our bodies, and then like these 2 super high definition cameras like right here, so they capture every little nuance and blink and nostril flare and breathing and stuff like that. So then the Weta effects team, the post-production team, they spent like a year and a half, I think, rendering everything. So when we were on set, when we were in Sydney, Australia, when we were in the bush and rainforest and stuff like that, wearing these suits, you and I are in a scene, but you're wearing like this crazy getup, and I'm wearing this crazy getup, but you're a chimpanzee and I'm an orangutan. So it's a lot of imagination work, and we spent about 6 weeks in ape camp, where we just like we studied like ape physioanatomy, ape psychology, and juxtapose that with human physioanatomy and human psychology, and they're vastly different, but they're remarkably the same. And so we worked with arm extensions, just so working on like because apes have much different hip structure,
right.
Like their quads are like more attached to their hips, so they don't have a lot of this, you know what I mean? The same with the neck. So we spent like 6 weeks working on that. So by the time we got to set or location, it's in our bodies. But when you're in the scene, it's a lot of imagination. And so to go back to look at, say, like the playback, right, for a scene, it wasn't helpful for me at all, because I'm like, I don't look like an orangutan. I look like a guy in a scuba suit. You know what I'm saying? So I had to revert back to my theater training, where it's just like, you and I are in a scene. We're in a scene. You know what I mean? And I have to believe, this is what's happening, and let it go, and then trust the director. Now with the Orville, that is prosthetics. That's old school. That's like I'm in a ridiculous amount of foam rubber, and that wound up being incredibly liberating, because it informed my physicality. You know what I mean? Like Bortus can't turn his head like this. You know what I mean? So like I have to turn like this, and that informs how I talk. And so that wound up being incredibly freeing, because I had to work within like this parameter. You know what I mean? So it was. But again, going back to clown, I learned how to Peter learned himself how to pour himself into a character with physical limitations, or with, but English is not his first language, the vulnerable space of like being naive about human things. Right. So that all tied in together.
Gotcha. That's fascinating. And since you brought up the Orville, I would be remiss if I don't bring this up. A large portion of my audience is from the Black gay male diaspora, and the character Bortus comes from a planet that is mostly of men. And
supposedly only males.
Supposedly. And there's some storylines there that I won't spoil for anybody that has seen it, but I guarantee you need to watch it because it will change your mind. But when you got the role of Bortus, did you expect that character to become iconic within such subgroup of people?
No, I didn't. I hoped that it would be useful. The character would be, or like useful in the sense of like something in the zeitgeist of science fiction where people can identify themselves, because it's like, like you go to a science fiction movie and you see a blood in the movie and like, oh, you dead. You know what I mean? He's the first one to die. You know what I mean? You see a black person in a movie, like, or smaller characters, and they don't like, or in Star Wars for a long time, it was like, wait a minute, there's no black people in a long time ago, far galaxy, a long time away. So there's something that, so I had hoped that, just because you don't really, other than like, I mean, Worf, with Star Trek is people, but he's such a, I mean, I love Michael Dorn, don't get me wrong, and I love the character, but I'm like, I feel like there's a limited range of access.
Right.
But with Bortus being like a father, a parent, you know what I mean? Like, and having a mate. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that access is like, I just think that opens the people to be able to identify with it. I certainly didn't, walk into the role thinking, oh, I hope I'm, like this and that, and I mean this to whatever group. No, but I was glad that, and especially when I got to the third episode of the first season, with a gender reassignment, and then to find out that his son was born. Well, see, here we're getting. Well, if you haven't seen it, I don't know where the hell you've been because it's like years ago. So like, I'm gonna go ahead and just spoil it. But like that, his son was actually born a female, but then like his mate was born a female too. Like all this weird thing. And at the time, if I remember correctly, what was going on in sort of the political space of just fuckery, excuse my French, was bathroom gate, like people like trying to decide, so now you go places and there's like an all gender bathroom, but that came, which is ridiculous to me, like that it has to be labeled, but it's not for nothing that those things are there, because at the time when we were filming this episode about the gender reassignment of our child, like people were having problems with who's using what bathroom, and it became a big national stink. So I feel like the show, and this is a compliment to Seth, is that like it mirrors like a lot, and it wasn't intentional. Like we didn't know that this was going to happen while we were filming this. It just so happened it did. But like that it mirrors like what's like truth is stranger than fiction kind of thing. So I love the fact that that Bortus and Clyden and like because their relationship is complicated. Do you know what I mean? Very much. I mean, Clyden, you can poo-poo or demonize Clyden, Bortus's mate, for being sort of a staunch Moclan and a traditionalist, and like the people like always wanted to shit on him, and I'm like, no. When you write science fiction, right? When you do science fiction, okay, yes, we are a species on this planet. We're writing, and it's for us, like we're humans. People write, human beings write for human beings, but about non-human beings. And so you can't just take this stance that like the moral compass swings towards humans. Like sometimes we have to be wrong because we're exploring. So I think that Clyden, if you say that like I'm from a planet where there's only dudes, and then I find out that like, and I'm born a female, that's conflict. That's going to affect how I view the world. And the Moclan, sort of tradition is very anti-female because they don't come from, like, there's no females. So like, my point is that to not belittle his sort of traditional narrative and make him the bad guy. So, and I think that was, and when the two of them are in therapy, like, I mean, I've never seen that before, Right. So anyway, I could go on and on and on, but like, I'm long story short is that I'm honored, or I'm really grateful that the work that I love to get to do, it has more than just entertainment meaning for folks who are not seeing themselves very much in this world of science fiction that we love so much.
And that I'm so glad you brought it up, because that's kind of what I wanted to get at. Bortus is not a useless character. Like, Bortus from episode 1 has been such an icon, not only within the Black community, because we don't have a lot of good representation in sci-fi with characters, and then within the gay community, that was kind of, I didn't see that coming just as a fan of the show, but like you said, seeing yourself, like I myself am a Black gay man, and I grew up in Atlanta, and not seeing a positive version of a Black gay man represented in me
in science fiction.
Especially in science fiction.
Everything is supposed to go. Like, if we can travel at the speed of light almost, but we can't. There's no gay people, or like there's no, like, well, I mean, what are we doing?
Right.
Again, that gets back to, like, who are we writing this for, and who's on the receiving end of this, so I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
No, that's fine, but like, your character is so important on two fronts, both the Blackness and the queerness of it, because there's not a lot of great representation in science fiction for either. You are now an icon for two groups in a sub-marginalized group of Black gay men. When people come up to you and they express, like, how your character Bortus and how you portray the character, what goes through your mind when people tell you their stories of what the character meant to you?
Just gratitude. Do you know what I mean? I just, the hard thing about being an actor in America, because it's different in, say, Europe and South America, where there seems to be at least on a governmental level, some allocation of funding and education for arts education, and for to be an artist in, as a viable career path, and to be useful. It's hard sometimes. I'm like, what am I, because I used to want to be like a fireman, or, like maybe like a psychiatrist or something like that. I thought about being a lawyer for a second, but I'm like, but to be the artists, I'm a painter, I make clothing, I make music, I try to live my life in a place of the useful for the human spirit and psyche, and it's hard sometimes, especially when I do my taxes, or when I do going to the unemployment office or whatever. Like, the system is not really set up for my career path, like in this way, and like it's very challenging. And even when I wanted to go to art school, I wanted to go to a Black art school. But at the time when I was getting my undergrad degree, there were no, Howard had a pretty okay program. Xavier didn't really have a program, but I wanted to go to a HBCU and go to and study art. And there were no programs like that at the time. There are now, which is great. But so I didn't feel, it's hard to feel validated as like, well, can I do this or should I do this? Because all of the grants and all of the scholarships, they're like for math and science and all the things. And so, to answer your question, it feels great because I feel useful. Like, I feel like I'm doing something because I cannot not do it. I mean, I'm so ridiculously passionate about being that's what I've always been since I was a little kid. So I've always known that I wanted to do this, and now to find out that, or to feel like the work that I love, it means something dear, other than, like, as I said, entertainment value to people. It makes me feel like I'm doing something that's worthy of the greater good without being like too syrupy with it. But that's the truth. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's how I feel. So
thank you so much. Thank you. Last question. I want to end on a high note. You have been in so many different shows and movies that I've grown up watching. You've been in NCIS, you've been in Law & Order, Family Guy, the Orville. I just want to ask you, what has been your favorite role that you have portrayed, and what is your dream role that you want for the future?
Oh, man. I don't know what my dream role. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to do. There's a lot of roles I want to play. There's a lot of roles I'm not ready to play yet. There are a lot of roles that I'm like, I hope I can do it before it doesn't seem weird, age-wise. But yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm just talking about plays, but film and television, man. Like I have to say, because I got I've never been a series regular on a show before, other than the Orville, and that was to me like I got to play. I love Shakespeare and I love August Wilson. Those are like my two sort of bookends of theater, and I got to play Macbeth like 150 times, like at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and I've been in that play like 7 times. So I know I love that play. It's my favorite Shakespeare play, and I've been in it. But the last time I did it, I played Macbeth again, and we ran from February to November, and I did it 150 times. And when you do a play 150 times, somewhere like halfway in, it's just second nature. And that was glorious, right? So playing Bortus, spending that much time with that character, because it was probably like a 5-year period that we were shooting 3 seasons, but that's, hey, like we like to take our time. To live in that character's skin and shoes that much, and I think we had just had our first child right before then, so I was a new dad, and Bortus, you know what I mean? So like there are all these synonymous sort of things, but just being able to, and it was so different, and like the writing, again, every episode, I was like, what's gonna happen this time? I don't know what's gonna happen this time. So it just felt great to be that familiar with the character that no matter what they threw at me, we could roll with and like figure it out. So that's, I just finished. And I'm always like happy with with the last role I did. I just finished shooting something the Thursday morning in LA that hence this crazy ass beard. But I'm like, okay, cool. It's because it's like every time you get to do something. It's like the great thing about being an actor is like we get to live not only in people's shoes but their souls and their, you know what I mean? They're and so like I just love that because I love human beings, right? I love the human condition. So it's just like we get to really sort of try on other people's worldviews and stuff like that without judgment, which is really kind of the only time you get to do that. But because I spent the most time with Bortus, I think that I feel like I got the most out of it, and so therefore I'm not going to say it's my favorite, but I feel like I have the most information about that character, and Macbeth. So those are those are my 2 sort of go-to dudes. But yeah. Thank you for that, though.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the interview. I hope you enjoy the rest of your DragonCon.
I do too, man.